Hi there, it's Laura here from Get Organized HQ, and I have a very relevant topic for you all, and that is how inflation affects organizing and how organizing affects dealing with inflation. So inflation is definitely something that we have all had to deal with our entire lives. And in very recent times, it's been a little bit higher than usual. Now, I am no economist. I can't tell you what the future will do. I do not have a crystal ball, but at least I know it's something that we're dealing with today. And most of these principles and tips will be helpful, whether inflation keeps going as it is, or whether it slows down, or no matter what happens. So let's first talk about, does inflation affect how we organize, or those effects? And yeah, I think it really does have an effect. So the first thing is that our dollar doesn't go quite as far when we have rapid inflation. And so we're gonna need to organize on more of a budget. Now, this is something people have done for years and years, and you can do whether inflation is happening or not, but more so than ever, that's something we might need to consider. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about some ways that you can organize on a budget. Now, I'm probably going to sound like a broken record, but I'm just going to say it and move on. The first thing you need to do when you organize any space is absolutely free, and that is decluttering. And I will leave a link down below to my very favorite decluttering video, and it even has a free printable checklist for you to help you declutter. So that's great news. The first step is always free. Second is that you can choose to sell some items. Now, I do not think that you should try to sell every single thing, and you should decide if it's worth your time, but I have a whole entire video devoted to deciding whether or not you should sell items. But if you bought something and the price has gone up, it's a great time to sell, and if you're on a tighter budget, you could really appreciate a few extra bucks from selling some things that you had anyway that you were just going to get rid of. So I'll leave that link to that video down below, and that might help you out a little bit. Now, once you've decluttered and you're organizing your items, there are so many tools available that you can purchase that help you organize. And I've purchased many myself, and I think they are incredibly helpful. Like you see all these bins behind me, it's got everything all nicely organized for me. If I didn't have those bins, it would be a lot harder to really categorize those items and find what I needed as well as I can. So I love the idea of purchasing, organizing items. I would say the first thing is to be really intentional and make sure that when you go to buy them, that you either really have a clear plan, you know you need these, or that you are very diligent and organized about returning. I have found for me personally that it's really hard, no matter how much I plan to know exactly what I need until I get it. So I overbuy and then I immediately return what I haven't used. So make sure you're really disciplined about that if you do buy more than what you need. Second, there are a decent number of free kind of things that you can recycle to help you organize. Things like old cereal boxes or cracker boxes or whatever you can cut down and use those as drawer organizers. You can use old shoe boxes, anything that things come in, you can simply recycle those. Also, check your local Facebook marketplace. People often give things away for free or really cheap. Check Goodwill. They often sell all sorts of items really cheap. And I feel like organizing bins are something people do get rid of a lot. Also, garage sales or yard sales or rummage sales or whatever you call them, go shop those, because often people are getting rid of those kinds of things and you can find an awesome deal. Beyond that, one of my favorite places to shop for organizing products is the Dollar Tree. And even with inflation these days, as of the time of filming this video, everything there is either $1 or $1.25. So nothing costs more than $1.25, and they have a lot of organizing items. Now, I could probably make an entire video on this, and I kind of hope to sometime soon, But one thing to keep in mind when shopping the Dollar Tree is that you probably have to go to a lot of them if you really want to find something specific, or if you want like 10 of something. You can also check the online shopping option. I have used that as well when I needed a lot of something. But that's something to keep in mind, is you might have to put forth a little bit of effort, but they have a lot of items there. Also, I have an entire video that has been really popular on my channel on comparing some Dollar Tree items with Container Store items and showing you kind of what you get for your money. And there's even one where I like the dollar version better, so you can check that out in the link below if you're interested in that. Also, don't forget that you can recycle the things that you yourself have. So maybe like you use something in an organizing project and you don't need it anymore. Shop your own home and closet first. Another really surprising way that inflation can affect organizing is that it can become more important to actually like stock up and store items. So one way to combat inflation is if you purchase a whole lot of food that is like shelf stable for a long time and you have it at hand. If I bought this, 20-pound bag of rice a year ago for $20 and today it's $30, well, I can still use it even though I only paid $20 for it. So stocking up on things becomes something that you might want to do more of, especially if you find a deal or a sale. You might want to do that. And so you need to prepare for that and set up storage systems for more of bulk purchases like that. And there's tons of advice out there. My advice would be to start small and not go crazy. If you go too crazy, what's going to happen is you're going to feel really, really overwhelmed. You're going to have all this stuff, and some of it might go to waste because you just don't have a system for it. So start small with building up your stash and go at a pace that you can handle. My second piece of advice is obviously use all the space, normal spaces in your kitchen and things, but don't be afraid to get really creative with storage space. Like, for example, in one home that I had, I turned a coat closet that we didn't really need into a pantry, because we really didn't need that space for coats. We each had like a coat or two that we could store with our regular clothes, but we really needed that space for food. So get really creative with where you might be able to store more bulk food purchases. Now, let's look the other direction and think about how organizing can help deal with the effects of inflation. First of all, like I just mentioned, if you have bulk items and you're organized, you can use them better. The more organized you are with meals and meal planning, the less food goes to waste. And I know we have all been guilty of having to throw out food that would have been perfectly good 3 or 4 days ago. So being really organized and intentional about this can be a huge way to reduce waste, which is just a great idea all across the board. Also, the more organized you are, the easier it is to find things and the less you have to rebuy. We've all been guilty of having to buy things that we already had because we couldn't find them, and half the time we weren't even sure if we had them. Like, I've done this with Post-its, tape, all sorts of things. So being organized and knowing what you have can really help with the need to buy things that you already have. Also, being organized in general promotes less stress and goes hand in hand with just being more disciplined and like having a more disciplined lifestyle in general, which can also help with being more controlled and intentional in your spending. Not to mention that one really important area to be organized in is your entire finances and budget. Know when those bills come in, have a system, make sure you pay them on time. I have a whole entire course and blog post dedicated to talking about paper management and those types of things. Also, having some sort of budget and accounting for where your money goes is really important to be organized about. And something you probably haven't thought of as much is that when your home is more organized, for most of us, it's a place we want to be more, and we're less tempted to go out and spend money. Now, you can totally go out without spending money, like you go to parks, things like that. You might have to drive, which these days costs quite a bit, but it is possible to go out and spend less money. But a lot of going out, not only are you first going to use gas, you're also, a lot of times we go out to eat, we'll go somewhere that costs us money, like a movie, something like that. And so if your home is really clean and organized, it's going to be way easier to just choose to eat at home, to maybe have a movie night at home and just enjoy being home more. I'm not saying that you should never go out. I mean, I do, and I enjoy that, but also it can be fun to stay home and to do more affordable things at home. Another idea for spending more time at home and spending less money is have people into your home to hang out, to play games, for a movie night, for a meal, and there are lots of really affordable meals. Like you could easily feed 10 people for less than what you might spend at a decent restaurant for 2 people. So consider that and make your home a place that you really want to be, that helps kind of melt the stresses of the day away instead of like being surrounded in too much clutter and adding to your stress. So I hope that some of these things have helped you, give you some ideas on how we can kind of use organizing to help us deal with inflation. And if you have any more tips, I would love to hear them in the comments below.